And just like that, we are live on a Tuesday night, Triple T number 102. Woo! And oh my goodness, it is a technology um, storm out there, we're going to call it. Lots of interactivity, sunbursts, and all sorts of fun stuff. So if you're tuning in late or you're having troubles with mics or speakers or all sorts of stuff, you are not alone, just to let you know. But let's get the introductions on the way. My name is TJ Zel. I call myself a professional problem solver, which I always follow up with, no, I don't know everything, but I just have a unique way of asking questions, and I have an amazing tribe that I can go about and search for solutions. If I can't find the solution, I probably know somebody that can. Um, Other stuff for those of you watching live on YouTube. Hi, Mom. And all the YouTube stuff that goes with it, please click the subscribe button and the like button and the comment section and make comments on your comments and comment on other people's comments. And let's just do a comment storm. I also have a website, thetswb.com, thetallskinnywhiteboy.com. Yes, that is what it stands for. And I offer a free 30-minute consultation for that is your time to ask me anything. If you're having some challenges, I do corporate coaching. I work with athletes from beginner all the way up to professional status. I help people with depression, anxiety, phobias, PTSD, all sorts of fun, good stuff, and lots of relationship stuff. Especially now that we're getting closer to the holidays, people are deciding that maybe this would be a good time to take the money that they would have invested for presents for their person and invest it into making themselves better to find their person. So there's that. Um, we're still waiting. I got a couple of texts that people were going to be checking in late. So those of you out in YouTube land, hey, Lenora got her camera working. Yay for technology.
Hi, friends.
It's one of those days.
What did
But
I miss?
the introduction that you've heard a few times,
Only a handful.
yes.
It's a
So
helpful one, though. Gives direction.
we were just about to do the other thing that I do at the start and asking if anybody had anything that they would like to share from the last 7 days. Yes,
I don't know
no,
if Holly was going to
so
pop in. Hi,
I'll let
Holly.
you go first. I want to hear how your week went, especially this week.
Um, so last week, um, the lovely Holly and the lovely TJ gave me a very lovely pep talk about my TEDx that I had on Thursday. And I was able to also work with TJ the day before because I was a little nervous. And it went really, really well. I'm super happy with how everything went. Every time I had clocked it on recordings, it was about like 17 minutes and somewhere between like 20 seconds and 40 seconds. And when I finished, it came out to about 16 minutes and 45 seconds. And I'm like, did I miss anything? Did I miss anything? And I remember thinking the whole time, A, that the light was really bright and I couldn't see anybody, but I could see them stand up. But also, um, wow, I'm really impressed with my pace. Wow, I'm breathing. Wow, I'm doing a really good job. So it's funny because I could have like this out of body experience while I'm trying to literally go step by step um in my talk. So I was really, really happy with it. And it ignited a whole ton of excitement and new perspectives and shifts of all sorts. And super, super, super happy with it. So thank you to the both of you and to all of Triple T, who I imagined in the audience. it was very, very helpful every time I practiced. You guys were all there. So thank you, thank you, thank you for all being there for me.
I am so super, ooper, duper, duper, cooper, with all the above proud of you.
Thanks. I'm super
Because
excited too.
Me too.
seems to me, less than a year ago, you had this thing pop up where you went,
I would like to do.
I want to do a TED Talk.
Yes.
I know how I'm going to do it. I don't know what I'm going to talk about. I just know that I think that I want to do that.
Yep. Yep.
Here you are.
Very much so. Very much so. And yeah, I didn't even tell anybody for the longest time. Longest time. So, yeah. And it worked out. So another thing that I had shared with you guys a couple weeks ago was I was really struggling with just my mindset, and this is definitely a process of transformation and going through the many thoughts that go through your head. Um, Bananas. Oh, so I was questioning everything that I had believed in, especially when it came to manifestation and creating opportunities in your life and creating good things in your life. And I told you guys I was just not a nice person that entire week. And and it then started to re-register as in you're a co-creator. There are things that you may want to be creating. And yes, it may be possible, but it might not be possible for you right now, or it might not be the best direction for you. So to keep trusting the process of where you're going. Holly, I don't even know if you remember this. I know TJ does because he was the one that pointed it out to me. Do you remember like 2 years ago, and even, gosh, I think it was probably in triple T's of like the early 20s. Um, and I was going to a BNI talk and I had to talk about myself for some
Yep.
30 to 60, 60
hmm
seconds. And we were talking about what I would wear and how I would talk and how to deliver. And so it's really incredible the things that we know how to do and the things that we trust each other to do with us as in agents of change and being open to having people walk you through processes to help you clear things that are holding you back and keeping you stuck. And that is something that, given it was like 60 seconds and I was freaking out, melting down. And now you look ahead and it's almost 2 years, not even 2 years later, and I was able to stand on a stage and not have my voice crack and not completely melt into a puddle. So it's incredibly powerful, the things that we know how to do and the things that we help each other to do and that we help other people to do. Um, that being said, as spectacular as it is, and we all have these great things that we want to create, it, if it's not happening, there may be something better. And that's the news story that I'm sharing with myself on repeat of, okay, that's an old story. Here's a new story. Let's look at a new story. Let's play a new story. Let's write a new story. What could it be? And just being really open and creative and really open to that of saying, yes, that's the old story. What's the new story? What else can we talk about? So I made a reel about that today. So it was just
Awesome.
some of the insights that are coming up. And now I've talked to her quite a bit. So
Get what you asked for, you're not done asking, right?
that's an excellent point. That's an excellent point.
Cool.
Thank you to all of Triple T and the many spectacular people that come through this tribe because they all help, every single one of them.
Well, I'll jump in here. That's so awesome. First of all, I just seriously so happy for you. It's so proud of you.
Thank you.
It's amazing how much that also leads into kind of what my week was. I don't
Ooh.
know if we're just like all on the same wavelength or vibration because we hang out so much, but it seriously was just the way my brain finally just started thinking about it because I was looking back and it's not necessarily. So when I look back at the hardest things that have ever happened to me, where my life feels like it fell apart, I just started thinking about it. It's not that I necessarily look back at those and say those were the best times of my life. But when I look back, those are the things that led me to the best things in my life. And, they're the things that motivated me to take action. They're the things that made me realize. So, kind of one of the things, the phrases that I've been using a lot for myself, because I've noticed, this energy has been messing with other people, messing with me. There's kind of two ways I've been thinking about it. One is being grateful for the dashboard indicators in your life. When, it's, hey, there was something wrong. I didn't realize it. Thank goodness I had this dashboard indicator to draw my attention to it so I could address it before it got worse. Um, and then the other thing that way I've kind of been saying it is, and not everybody's gonna have this belief, this is just kind of the way I look at it, but with manifestation specifically is what I was thinking about is, I believe that we came from kind of a place where we could basically manifest anything, have everything. And there's a reason we kind of chose to come down to this place with limitations. And I mean, I do believe there are things we can manifest, but we came down because growth and learning and becoming the person that is capable of having it, those sorts of things, that process was so valuable. It was more valuable than just having it. And so just, being grateful for the opportunity to have growth rather than having the opportunity to have everything I want with no effort.
Oh my God,
So those are
Holly.
kind of the two things that have been going through my mind all week.
So good. Oh my gosh. I feel
Uh,
like I know it was longer than a bumper sticker. Sorry, TJ, I cut you off.
what?
I thought you were saying something and I cut you off.
No, I was just like, whoop, whoop.
I feel like what she just said was like this beautiful statement. And when they're so good, I think, they should be on a bumper sticker so many people could see them. I feel like it was longer than a bumper sticker, but still so good of why you came down here for growth and learning. So good. A plus, Holly.
Lenora, you could do another income stream with bumper stickers.
That'd be so fun.
You
Well,
totally could.
why
I do
not?
love I do love bumper stickers. I think you know what we need to do bumper magnets because the whole sticker thing, and then you worry about like devaluing the car.
Yeah,
People do magnets.
that's
Put
a
them on the
whole
fridge.
other topic. But yes, I'm not into bumper stickers on cars, but I do have a small collection of them that I just hang on to because,
Because they're so good.
yep, or make them into t-shirts.
Right? There you go. Definitely do that one on Etsy too.
Mhm.
Hmm.
Wow. Well, those were epic uh, insights into a week that you guys have had. Holy macaroni.
Hmm.
So, um, Squirrel just took away what I was going to talk about. So I guess we're stuck with the topics of the week. Good thing I write those down.
I'm sure they'll return quickly.
Well, let's go into the topics. This week we got prepared to plan, how to fail, and friends versus tribe. It seems a couple of you have already touched on some information for these topics. So normally that would be like, that's a little ironic, but we know that in our reality, things like that happen quite often. So prepare to plan. We are, what? I saw that.
I had that's so funny that you said that. Oh my God. I don't know if you guys have been having trouble sleeping over the last couple of nights. I'm gonna go with something about the moon. Um, I was thinking of that, and I can put a pin in it for later about the other things that I'm gonna mention. Okay, you want me to tell it now?
Well, we're
It's more
here.
like second hour stuff.
Okay, well, if you want to write yourself a little
Okay,
note.
I'll put it in the chat.
We've got a second hour starter already put in place. prepare to plan. What's coming up in about 2 weeks? Yes. And a year ago, well, 2 weeks shy of a year ago, when we started this, or yeah, it's been longer than that.
Wait, yeah, you started in 2021.
Yeah, I was just thinking, holy cow,
January 2021.
that went quick.
That did go quick.
Yes, so here we are.
102 weeks later.
I think it was, help me out. Was it the first one when I brought up planning your year out? Where do you want to be in a year?
No,
Or
oddly enough, at least Holly, at least this is what I remember, that you did it at the end of 2022 for 2024. And you were like, who do you want to be in 2024? And I was like, he knows it's 2023, right? And you then explained, who do you want to be in 2024? That's what you're working on in the year of 2023.
Well, here we are again. And part of what I was, when you were talking about what you had declared about TED Talk, and here you are.
And here I am.
So there is power in the spoken word and in the declarations.
I think there's something to be said about lowered resistance too. Like that,
Yeah.
it was almost so far-fetched that it was not in conceivable. Oh, I have a hot cup of tea over here and I almost spilled it everywhere. I didn't, it was just like, oh, that'd be something fun. There wasn't, sometimes I don't know about you guys, but I put a whole lot of attachment to the outcome. TJ's smiling because he knows it. It's true.
I'm also smiling because that's part of the topic coming up, where I think some people they list all of the things on their resolutions that they believe they can achieve. And they don't add any that would be, I want to do a TED Talk. I want to write a book. I want to visit da 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 da. Because, well, I have no, I can't see I don't know how I'd ever achieve that. And I think that sometimes we just need to have a couple of those set out there so the universe can show us what's possible.
I would agree with that. There was so I know for sure this is resonating with Holly, and I'm hopeful, Guada, this is resonating with you too. Squirrels. So when I was when I was talking about stories, I was thinking, what's a new story that I could tell? And that's what I was doing this morning while I was putting on my makeup. I was thinking, what's a new story? What could I write in for 2024 that would just be like this cool new story and just to enjoy it? And I started listening to a bit of T. Harv Ecker's lectures and his seminars and stuff. And one of the things that he said about fear, and I thought this was really powerful, aside from false evidence appearing real, that's the acronym, fear is the anticipation of pain. And I thought that was so powerful.
Yeah. What a way to look at it, huh?
Right? And so even when I'm talking to my younger self, I remind them that whoever's showing up at that moment, you didn't know. You don't have to keep carrying it. Like, we know so much more now. We're not 5, we're not 6. We really know a lot more. And I also have found that the more I keep talking to the younger self or whoever is appearing, the more that they've started to believe me over time, which is super wicked powerful. And I think Linda, I know she's not on right now, but I think she would be so excited because it's building trust with yourself, ultimately.
And when you trust yourself, how much easier is it to uh, believe that you're deserving of love?
So good. So good. And there was another one that I had remembered from earlier when I was in Chicago, and she said, Dr. Quitai, I think her name is, and she said, trusting yourself is trusting in God because God is within you, or the universe is within you, whichever label you like to use. But I thought that was super powerful too.
Mhm.
Reframes for days.
Yes. Welcome to our world. The other one that I wanted to add on to this, one of my clients, I now have, I think I'd mentioned a couple of weeks ago, reverse engineering his goals for writing a book. Well, now he's in the process of setting goals for 2024. And like I had mentioned last year, reverse engineering them. That allows you to check the foundation, see where if you're on track, all the above. So my challenge to you guys and those of you watching, and even if you're watching the recording, what goals can you set for the next year or even the next month or the next couple of months and reverse engineer them and chunk them down so that you can see what actions need to be taken and you can measure them to see if you're on track and make sure that you have the resources available to make that happen. Yes.
Can you give an example by any chance?
Yeah, I'm working on the property that we purchased 2 years ago has been uh, nonstop projects. My projects have projects. And there have been a number of them where we're getting into an area now where I have to try to prioritize some of the actions and figure out what I have left on the projects. Because those that know me, especially on like the apartment that I've remodeled, once I set the intention that this is the product that I'm looking for, the universe just, oh, here you go, discount, best price ever. And now it's time to work on a couple of the projects for the yard, and I'm working on a drain pit for some runoff that they had done incorrectly. And I needed some pipe. And one morning, I just happened to look out in the front yard, and I'm like, what is that? And I walk out there, and there's a 16-foot section of 4-foot pipe that I was needing in the ditch. The scuffs on the pipe literally told me it had fallen off somebody's truck or trailer or whatever and stopped right in my front yard.
Okay. Do you have elves on the shelves or gnomes in the yard? Because I need to know what's going on that property. Are you kidding me?
Yeah.
It's amazing. See? Stuff like that. That's amazing.
And neighbor let me use his dump trailer. So yesterday picked up 5 loads of product for that and for the front yard for leveling it out. And had I gotten the dump trailer earlier, I wouldn't have gotten the same product and I wouldn't have done it the right way. And so the timing on that. And people can get so frustrated if things aren't going because they don't trust in the process of why is this taking so long? Why is what I'm looking for, why did the thing that I found that I wanted get taken by somebody else? Yes. Why? Relax and wait to find out.
I see this is where I get impatient, and I feel like I've finally started to remember going, you're a co-creator and there's something else in play. You may still be wanting this and this may still happen, but if it's not happening, that's okay. Some things are still happening, and to just focus on that rather than why isn't this happening? And it really takes away from the magic of living in the present and being present.
Yes.
Yeah. I hate that.
Tell me how you really feel.
I'm so filtered this evening.
I'm gonna jump in here, even though just kind of a thought with that too is how does it feel if you get what you want before you're ready to have it, and you ruin it because you got it because you weren't the person who was ready to have it yet? And then the other thought is, I just always have this. I don't know if you've ever driven with lights on a road where the lights are timed, and there are some people who want to just speed the whole way, and basically they speed to have to stop at the light, speed to have to stop at the light. But if you go exactly the same speed limit, you just coast and never have to stop, and you both get the same destination, the same place as well. I often think of that as an analogy for life.
So
Yes.
good.
Absolutely, and I'm glad you brought that up because the amount of times that I've been given, people have given me grief about my driving styles. I had one friend, we were on our way to Las Vegas, and I happened to be driving her vehicle. And she goes, "You drive like an old man." And I'm like, "What?" "Oh, you just roll up casually to the stop signs and you take off so slow and you speed down the hills and slow down on the way up." And I said, "Oh, yes, if that's what that means, yes, you're right, I do. That's why my vehicles get so old. Because I end up, and just like Holly pointed out, I'll be coming up, see the light turn yellow. I take my foot off the gas and have 3 people zoom past me so they can race up to that red light. And then I catch up with them, and we both get to sit at the red light. Only I sit at the red light for about a third of the time. And then the light turns green, and they kick it in gear and race up to the next red light. And I catch up to them at the next red light so I can sit at the red light a quarter as long. So there's something to be said for that. And then, like Holly pointed out, after a bit, if you time it slow enough to where you can get into the green and get in sync with the lights, then you just get to roll through. So, any other input, ahas, epiphanies on preparing to plan? Oh,
I don't think so, but don't quote me.
well, too late. It's recorded.
50 minutes.
Well, let's move into how to fail. This came from one of my new clients who dealing with some inner belief systems and very much an introvert and a lot of negative self-talk. And they're working on getting a new job, but to get the new job, they have to pass a test for a certain skill. And they get 3 tests before they have to take the class over and pay for it out of pocket. Well, they let me know they failed the first test, and if they don't get it right, they've only got 2 more chances to fail before they have to take it all over again. And so I asked him, I said, well, did you learn anything from the test? Well, yeah, because I forgot to do this, that. And I said, so on the next test, do you think you'll forget that? No. I said, oh, so there you learned something. Well, I said, then you didn't fail. You just didn't pass. There's a big difference. You didn't fail the test, you just didn't pass the test. And you learned 2 major things. And if those were the only 2 things that kept you from passing the test, the next test should be fine. Yes.
The power of words.
Yes.
Holy bananas. What a huge difference. Huge difference.
Yeah.
Wow. That's awesome.
They had sent me some texts, and I had to do a reframe, but I said, I want you to reread your last 3 texts and reword all 3 of them to be positive. They're like, wow. Well, you actually not only just texting is even, I think, more impactful than just speaking them. Because with texting, you get the chance to take the time to compose the message and see it before it goes out into the universe. So if you're sending out texts that are negative and less than positive self-talk, that's almost like a triple check of your mind going, yeah, yep, that's what I meant to say. But it's also the ability to have somebody like myself go, wow, do you hear what you said? And you don't have to remember it because it's actually written down. And I'm not saying that the positive talk and the reframes and all that stuff is easy. If it was, everybody would do it. Much more. But we've been trained through the news media and life and peoples and humans and blah, 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 blah. To think that it's okay to not only say stuff like that, but to say it about ourselves. Well, I didn't really mean it that way. I just, well, it doesn't matter. The words came out. That's why they've proven through tests the number one reason why people can't remember names is what?
They say that they can't remember names or that they're bad at remembering names.
They tell themselves and they tell everybody around because it becomes a convenient excuse. And I've actually had people, what's your name? No, TJ. Oh, well, I'm not going to remember anyway. I'm terrible at names. Then why did you ask? If it's that unimportant, call me Guy or Buddy or Schmo, whatever. At least when you say, yo, Schmo, I'll be like, you talking to me? All right. But I've also learned that it's okay to ask people's names. Some people will get so, well, they've already told it to me twice. Like, yeah? How many names are in your cell phone? 300, 400? How many people have you met in your life? It's okay if that file is a little full and you couldn't remember this person's name at the moment. Yep.
When people tell me that they have trouble remembering names, I'm like, oh, that's okay. Here's a really great way to help eliminate that. And I'll tell them what I do. So even, hi, Kevin.
Yo, Kevin.
I'll tell them that I actually use the name 3 times within the next 3 minutes so that it'll stick. Or if I don't have the opportunity to speak, I'm making a connection between something and something about them as I'm learning them. So if it's Dan, it's like, oh, Dan with the salmon colored shirt. And that way I've now made a connection. It doesn't make any sense, but in my head, it made a connection. I can literally picture that person and my brain will take a picture of it. So that's usually how I like to offer it rather than well, damn, why can't like come on, you know? People usually seem excited about that one when I offer that.
And that goes right in line with making up a story about them.
Making up a story.
A funky little funny story about them. And even if you can make it into a silly little rhyme that's a story about them,
That's a good one.
it sticks even more.
Oh, I like that one. Oh, funny rhyme.
And that's why people like Hannah always seem to have people remember their name a little bit more. Why would that be?
Hannah Banana.
Hannah Banana.
Definitely makes a rhyme for sure. I like that one.
I'm going to jump in with a quick question.
Yes.
Oh, sorry. So what about, because this all presupposes you understood the name the first time.
There.
I have a thing that, like for instance, Polly and Holly. They sound the same to me a lot. There are certain sounds that I just can't distinguish very well. What is a trick to figuring that out?
Echo talk, and if you got it wrong, they will correct you. And that's your quick invite to, oh, I'm sorry. That's why I repeat things, because sometimes what I hear is not what you said.
Have you ever had one of those where you said it wrong about 5 different times in a row before?
Yeah, because people can be too afraid to correct you.
Oh, that's not what I meant. I mean, they correct you and then you correct it to something else that's wrong, to correct it to something else that's wrong. And eventually they start getting mad at you because you're not able to get it.
Then it may be an issue with their speaking capabilities.
If I there are some that I'll still mess up and I'm like, it's okay, I'm getting it. Do once more, and I'll say it with them, and I'll take the blame for lack of a better word. Um, because I'm doing my best. Like I care enough to keep asking you. So if you want to get pissy about it, okay, like clearly this ain't gonna work out then.
Yeah, and if you're doing it with true intention, that, but another thing I wanted to throw in before I forget is helping people remember your name. That's why when I introduce myself to a lot of people, I'll say, yeah, my name's TJ, but it doesn't stand for Tijuana because I'm from Minnesota. And they get a little giggle, especially in San Diego because Tijuana is so prevalent there. But that helps them anchor because there's that little laugh, that little humor in there.
That is cute. I like that one.
In fact, Holly Mignosi, when I uh, first met her, she said, my name's Holly Mignosi. It kind of sounds like Big Nosy, but with an M. Stuck ever since. So there's lots of these little things that you can do to make yourself more memorable. And that's also part of, how to fail. Don't put in the attempt. Another way is to basically convince yourself that you're going to fail before you even start. Seen that many, many times. Yeah. And I've dealt with it in plenty of situations. Like, well, we could put these lights in here. Yeah, but they'll probably burn out in like 6 months. Well, yep, you're right. Worst case scenario, they probably wouldn't last a year or two or 12. Or they could last 12 years. And if they don't, we could replace them when they quit working. Anybody got any other examples that have popped up on ways to fail? I'm glad because I'm glad that it's taken. You guys are like, well, and a lot of it is going to be in.
I mean, I've definitely failed for sure. Um, I don't think I've ever been excited about it, but I really like your reframe on it of you didn't fail, you just didn't pass.
Well,
And it really is all about the wording and what it meant, especially the first few times when you heard it, you failed and the energy behind that and who was pointing at you and who was scolding you and yelling at you and you know, all that lovely bunch of memory.
what was WD 39? It was the 39th attempt to make WD 40 because WD 40 was their 40th recipe attempt. And they said, this is the one. What are we going to call it? Well, this was number 40, so we're just going to water displacement recipe number 40, WD 40.
I love that one.
39 wasn't a failure. It showed them how much closer they were to WD 40.
So funny because I feel like I did that with recipes of trying to create the cookie spread that I did, and there were so many variations that it goes through. And to get it just a little bit better and just a little bit better is okay, is this the one or was that the one? Because once you get close to it, then you're like, okay, well, how close to it am I?
Yes. And when is it good enough?
Yeah. Oh, yeah.
Another way to fail is to never, it's never good enough. It will never be good enough.
I feel like
Then,
that's really like a big thing, though. You
yeah,
know?
you've robbed yourself of the happiness and the pleasure of the accomplishment. That's why I always tell people, don't wish for perfection, wish for excellence.
How do you how do you start reframing then that it's never good enough? Like, where would you even start?
Is it better than the last one?
Ooh, that's a good one.
Then it's good enough. Can we do it better? Probably. But if we had to stop here, would it be good enough? And that doesn't mean you stop there just because it's good enough, but you don't beat yourself up about all the details that weren't up to par.
That's so powerful. Even if we had to stop here, is it good enough?
Yeah.
That's awesome.
This is
Is it
making
better?
me think of, oh, this is making me think of I don't know if you've seen the documentary, what's it called, like 4 Days to Excellence or something. It's about how they make the TV show South Park, which I'll say
Oh,
I've only seen like maybe 2 episodes of that show ever, but they talk about they have a really fast turnaround on their
yeah.
show. And somebody was asking them, why do you do it that way? And they pointed out, they could take 10 times as long to make it 5% better. But they've determined that for them, that quick turnaround and being able to show a week, something that happened during the week that's relevant, have it on that week's show
Yeah.
is much more valuable to them than to spend all this time to get 5% better. So the other thing to think about too is as you're trying to get perfect, how much are you improving and what are you sacrificing in the rest of your life that you could be working on to get that additional improvement? Because there is a sweet spot where
Amen.
so, and I'll
Absolutely. Thank you, Holly. Badoom.
also throw there too, I haven't passed yet.
Yes, exactly. And I'm using a lot of that in the triple P for my relationship people. Was that last date a failure? Oh yeah, we went out, we had a really good time, and then all of a sudden, boom, they ghosted me. Okay, so what I heard was you went out, you had a really good time. Did you learn anything? Were you able to add anything to your journal for your person? Well, yeah. Okay. Are you at the end of your 1 year? Well, no. Sounds like research. You didn't fail. You got to put in some more research. There's something to be said about being in the testing stage.
Man, you guys tonight.
Well, if you judged everything while you're in the testing stage and the growth stage, it will feel, bless you, it will feel like a ton of failures. And yet we go right back to the saying, what do you call a doctor who graduated with a C plus average? Doctor. So keep that all in mind. And now that we've got that, we've got 10 minis to button up the final uh, topic of the night, friends versus tribe. Oh my. For those of you that have been around Planet TJ for a while and Triple T, you know how I'm always pushing people to have 3 journals. Your person, your income streams with an S, and your tribe. And all 3 of them should be evolving. There you go. Whoop, whoop. And I had a discussion with somebody the other day about their tribe. And I said, who's the smartest one in your tribe? Well, that would be so and so. I said, good. How long have you known him? Oh, my whole life. So they're a friend. Well, yeah. I said, and so this friend that you've known your whole life that's really smart, how much smarter than you are they? Well, they're good at what they do. How much do they push you? When's the last time you talked to them? Well, what do you mean? How often do you hang out with them? The saying is you are the sum of the 5 people that you hang out with the most. Not the 5 that you've known the longest, not the 5 that you like the best. In fact, there'll be times where you need to have somebody in your tribe that you're probably not very happy with sometimes because they make you uncomfortable, because they push you, because they call you out on when your feces has a bad odor. And that's why you have to keep evolving your tribe, looking for ways to keep it improving. I've said it a number of times. If you're the smartest person in the room, time to find another room. Doesn't mean you can't come back and visit every now and then. But when you're on the top rung, it's hard to climb up any farther. You need to find a better ladder that's going to challenge you. And too many of us will climb that ladder to the comfort zone and hang out there because climbing can be a little uncomfortable and it can be a little exhausting and it can be all the above. And you don't have to make absolutely humongous, monstrous steps as long as you're climbing a little bit. And pushing yourself. Some of the projects that I've got going on here on the property are new and unique, things I have not done before. And so I've had to reach out and surround myself with smarter people in regards to that. And you can have multiple tribes of different specialties. Hey, Mark, good to see you, man. Just like you guys here, you are my Triple T tribe. And I appreciate you big time because you give me a weekly accountability to have something to deliver. And you also, in return, give me inspiration each week and I've learned all sorts of cool stuff. And so that's another example of a unique tribe. Anybody got anything they want to share on this? Any ahas, epiphanies? Yes, Lenora, please.
I think the difference, at least what I've noticed, the difference between friends and people who are close to your tribe, and by all means, if somebody has a different opinion, shout it out. Can't wait to hear it. What I noticed about friends is when I was and or when if I was complaining about something or going through a tough time, what I would consider complaining and talking about it, they commiserate with you. And, like even if you were in college and you think back, like, oh, he did such and such, and they're like in there commiserating with you and everybody's squabbling over it. Verse in a tribe, it's okay, so what are we going to do about it? People come to the table looking for solutions, not looking to add fuel to the fire. And that to me is the difference between somebody who's a friend versus somebody who's in your tribe.
I love that you brought that up. When problems and complaints turn into solution-based conversations versus competition-based conversations. Oh yeah, that's terrible. You should hear what I went through. Oh my gosh, no, no. Holly's got her hand up.
Oh, this is kind of combining what you said and also something you said with something Lenora said. But I think it's also
And your mic
set.
died.
Oh crap! Did that fix it?
We got that.
Oh geez. Oh man.
That was awesome.
Geez. So I was gonna say, I think that tribe is a mindset, and being the kind of person who could be in a tribe is a mindset. And I mean, there might be some people who don't want that. You're not close enough to be invited to give that feedback. But that reminder that there might be somebody else that maybe I have a higher GPA than they do, but they've got better emotional intelligence than I do. And maybe somebody else, all they know is they can help me work my can opener better than I've been working it, and they might solve my world in that way. It doesn't have to be this huge way that they push you, as long as they've got that attitude of they are going to call you out on things, they are going to push you, they are going to question you. And so, having the humility enough to recognize anybody can be your tribe, in whether it's for a moment or for a lifetime, if they bring the right energy, and just looking at what they can teach you and respecting that.
Awesome insight. Thank you for sharing that, because back home I've got a buddy in my tribe, and he has forget what he was born with. He competes in Special Olympics, and he has the ability to say things because he doesn't have that filter. And he'll say things so honest and so heartfelt and straight out that you're like, wow. I am so glad you're around here, my friend. Something about it, it's almost like innocent honesty on a whole higher level. Now, can he drive a car? No. But he's taught me many things. So, like you said, Holly, it's not about reaching up higher and higher to see if they've got a PhD or multiple letters and acronyms and blah 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 and income streams than you. It's, can they teach you something? Can they hold you accountable? Can they help you to become a better person? Yeah, Mark.
I was going to say, a good friend will tell you what you need to hear, not what you want to hear. And I have a little bit different track that, again, I think women are more tribal. And
for debate a little bit.
Well, I think men are more pack animals, and if you're in a good pack, again, the leadership role shifts to whoever has the best skill set for any given problem, and then takes over the leadership of the pack. I said women. I think they, again, I think that because they use so many given words in a day, I think they get, they can process out things, especially if they have their, in their little tribe, they can work through, they can problem solve, I think, in a superior fashion. But I think it's all about, the connections you make. And, but, I have a small group of friends, and they, male friends, and, we have, and obviously this is another group of people I feel close to, but as so yeah, I'm rooting for every one of you. And I tend to, there isn't one alpha in the group of my good male friends. We met through a fraternal organization called Freemasonry, and friends I would have never met, people coming from all walks of life, men, and but these four individuals, I would step in front of a bullet for. So,
and that just those are another one that's why another reason why I'm having a lot of my triple P clients. I tell them, go out and find as many different groups, activity groups, and things of that nature that you can join in. If you're in an area that has a number of groups on Meetup, if I don't, for those of you that are out of the country and stuff like that, there's a thing online called meetup.com. It's actually where how I met my wife. I didn't meet my wife online. We're not. But in San Diego, there are so many groups on meetup.com that you just put in a few things that you're interested in. And these are people that just want to get together and do something. And like the group that I met my wife through, when anybody can be an organizer for a meetup, and you have to pay to have your groups put online, but you get to have 3 groups for an activation. And so Bill, the gentleman who put it together, had international travelers, tall singles, and cat lovers. But he would hold all 3 groups at the same location. And so it'd be people who love to travel, people who are tall, people who love cats would all show up at the same place. And a lot of times we go out dancing and set up at a deal. Well, I'm telling my triple P and my relationship people now, that's one easy avenue where you can go because it's already organized. You don't have to know anybody because you have something in common. When you show up, you know something about the group. And there was another tall singles group in the San Diego area on Meetup as well. The organizer of that one got kind of snooty with us because we were having way too much fun and the group was growing way too fast. And so he put on there that, we were just lying about the description of the group because there were even short people at the tall singles thing. And so I had to have Bill rewrite the description because there are tall people that are attracted to short people. There are short people that are attracted to tall people. And if you would like to hang out where tall people are going to show up and you like being around tall people, this is where we'll be. Any height is welcome. And that's another way to build your tribe and expand your outreach to different people. Sometimes we get so comfortable with the same 3, 4, or 5 people, but are we growing? Are we learning? Are we pushing? And that took us over the top hour, and that means we're into the second hour, and Lenora did what she was supposed to and already posted the topic for the second hour to get us started, which is suit of armor.
So the other night I was not sleeping and I was having a full conversation with my heart and was talking about a variety of things. And I had asked about how can I help you? How can I support you? And so I started to run through the things that I think of. And somehow, don't ask me how I got here, but did you guys ever see the movie The Incredibles? Okay, so got a few head nods. Okay. So the suit of armor that I came up with was the suit of armor for the baby, Jack Jack. And in my head, I had Edna playing, going like, well, I didn't know what he was going to be doing. This is like the only accent I can do. I can attempt any other accent, but it'll only come out British. Anyway, to make the long story short, I had protected my heart in the suit of armor of Jack Jack. So when she tested it, she stretched it out, she blasted it with fire, she did all these different things. And I thought it was such a fun way for a new suit of armor. And I was like, I don't know where that came from, but it really worked out.
Awesome.
That's my thoughts on suit of armor. So in case anybody needs an additional one, give that a whirl. Ask Jack Jack and Edna Mole.
I'm going to add something to that. Oh, sorry, Mark, you could go.
Well, I was going to say the first time I went to HypnoThoughts, I did Identity by Design. I think it was the first time, and we were doing Pillars of Power, and Davis took us through the first one, which was Curiosity, and the energy was green, and I went to put it inside of myself, and it became a suit of armor. And again, as a kid, I loved the King Arthur and the knights, and the Green Knight was Sir Gawain, and I was like standing there, and I was glowing with this green energy, and after the exercise was over, that particular one, I walked up to Dr. David, and I walked up and I said, "Don't worry, it's not heavy," because I was still wearing my suit of armor, this playfulness, curiosity. And I said, "Can you tell what color it is?" He closed his eyes for a minute. He goes, "Green." I go, "Damn, you're good." And when I did the relentless, the pillar of power of relentlessness. It was pure black, and I did it with another student. And then when I stepped into that pillar, I became the suit of armor became Darth Vader. You know, my playful, imaginative mind. You know, again, Darth Vader was pretty damn relentless, and turned that into a magic ring. I turned the green armor, you know, into a magic bracelet, and it all, you know, it was all part of the training. But yeah, that's my suits of armor. The green, because the Sir Gawain he was one of the strongest knights, but he could also heal. So I think that's what appealed to me. And then, like I said, the relentlessness becoming Darth Vader, that I can just activate that, and you know, the armor covers me and protects me. And it's that other playful part of me that glommed onto these things, and they can be, you know, I can activate them at will.
They're so powerful when you really go through them and you get immersed in them. I don't want to say lost in it, but when you really get into it, it's so powerful.
Yeah. Gets me through some workouts.
I never thought of using those energies as a suit of armor, like playful and stuff. I think that's really, really cool. I'm going to be thinking about that from now on. The other thing I was going to throw with what Lenora said, one of the things I love about Jack's suit of armor, so to speak, is I think I always think of suit of armor as it's protecting me from what's outside. And no, it's the thing that's adapting me to make me more powerful, and it has to be strong enough to withstand my power. So I kind of love that little twist on it that I'd never thought of before.
Whoop, whoop.
Hang tight while I write that down, Holly.
That's why I love second hour.
So not only protecting you, also adapting you to your new power.
And when I'm working with clients, I'll oftentimes have them identify what color is safety. And I'll have them wrap themselves in that as a suit of armor, so that they can go in and
I thought he was inviting her to the camera. That's hilarious. Hi, Marking Company.
She's off to bed.
Awesome.
Well, if we're done with that conversation, I love it. But I was going to say, I have another topic when we're... Okay, I guess I'll go. Yep. So I've been thinking a lot about, so the way I look at it, this is putting together multiple things that are multiple systems that kind of are saying the same thing. But when we're looking at events in our life, tasks we're taking on, goals we're making, those sorts of things, if we were to rank them on a scale of difficulty of 1 to 10, and that difficulty is going to be based on our skill set as well. So it's not just uniquely how hard is it, but it's also how capable are we of taking it on. So I believe that if we were to do a true 1 to 10 scale, I believe there are 5 different categories that something could be. And I have to say this kind of upfront before I say my question, just to explain my question. And I think it's kind of a logarithmic scale, just like a seismic scale is a logarithmic. So basically it's exponential growth. It's not like 10 is double a 5, if that makes sense. So I'd say the top level is a 10. That's where you get trauma encoding. You know, we talk a lot about you remember up to 9, and then the 10 hits and you don't remember it. 9, I would call the category of superhuman. And so that's where, because something is so extreme, this is where, mothers get the ability to lift a car off their baby, so to speak. Yeah. They're able to tap into skills that you normally can't tap into. Then just below that, and like I said, if you ask a normal person on a scale of 1 to 10 where they're feeling, we ignore the 9 and the 10 because they're so extreme and they almost never happen that we're probably going to adjust the scale of 1 to 10. So this was what probably people would normally call a 10, but I'm going to call it roughly, maybe 7 to 8 or something, is what is called the realm of overwhelm. So it's the, this is so hard. I'll give an analogy for these next 3 together. Then you've got below that something that people call the zone of proximal development. So it's where you're stretching yourself, and you might stretch yourself a little bit further. You're doing something that's a little too hard to stretch yourself, or maybe you're doing something a little bit too easy just to show yourself, hey, look, I've got this. Let me practice my mastery, or that place where you're right on. So there's kind of a little bit of a zone there. And then just below that, I won't give numbers to him from now on. It's probably easier that way. Below that, you've got what is often called, the realm of boredom. So it's I'm not challenging myself enough. And so let's see, that's all 5, yeah. So for these bottom 3, I use, think of the analogy of the tightroper. And they'll say, so if you're in the realm of boredom, if you have a safety net and you're bored and it's too easy, somebody who's doing a tightroping job, they're going to allow themselves to fall off the tightrope because they can. And so if you're in that realm, these are the people who need to take away the safety net in order to be able to walk the tightrope. But then in the overwhelm section, I would describe it as maybe there is no safety net, and this person really has never done it before, and it's way too hard, and they're being distracted by the fact that it's way too hard because you need to get your focus in that sweet spot. So they're not even going to get on the tightrope because it's too scary it's not safe to even get on that tightrope. But if you were to put the safety net in, suddenly they'd be willing to do it and able to do it and learn the process. So anyway, so now that I've described the different zones, I've noticed lately that a lot of gurus seem to, so there's 2 things. One is a lot of them seem to focus on getting to that supernatural zone, the extreme zone, because I want to tap into my supernatural powers. And so my first question, and it's 2 parts, but my first question is, how wise is that? I don't know. I'm not sure, because I know a lot of them go there, but is there a cost, is there a reason our body doesn't let us tap into those every single minute of every single day because maybe it burns it up? Or is it just that it's a limiting belief that we can't live there? And maybe if we just adapted, that would become our new zone of proximal development or whatever. So that's the first half. And then the second half is I've noticed a lot of people, because, if you're in overwhelm, you've got 2 choices. You can either up the difficulty and tap into supernatural, or you could drop the difficulty and get down into your zone of proximal development. And so I've noticed a lot of times people will see somebody in overwhelm who's paralyzed because of overwhelm, and they think they're in the boredom realm. And so what they'll do is they'll default to pushing, and it might push them up into that supernatural. They might get some benefit. But I guess my question is, how can you tell the difference between a client who is in boredom, who needs to, be pushed, and somebody who's in overwhelm that might get some benefit out of chunking it down, making it an easy, finding ways to make the process easier. Baby steps versus trying to take giant leaps, that sort of thing. Or is it just always better to push everybody up? Because if you could get up to that supernatural, even though you're, on the edge of trauma encoding, as long as you're careful, is that the better way to go? So anyway, I know it's a long thing, but what are your thoughts?
I love all of that. I think there's a specialty to be able to navigate through all of them rather than jumping right into supernatural and being like, yeah, I can totally get this energy up there, and learning to navigate in and out of them. For me, at least, when you said moment of overwhelm versus boredom, what came to my mind was the emotional impact of how they're responding. How are they literally showing up? Is it causing them stress, or is it very nonchalant? Like, no, I don't want to do that. And as you're drilling down, you'll start to stir up that emotion. At least that's my thought process. And that would be the difference between boredom and being overwhelmed and why they're stuck.
Cool. Good answer. Anybody else? I've got something. Go ahead.
I was gonna say that something I learned along the way is if you're in the zone, when you're starting with a new challenge, you've got high anxiety and low knowledge, and as those lines start to coalesce, the anxiety turns to exhilaration and excitement, and then the I don't know if this is an answer for you, Holly, but and then as your knowledge increases, you get to that point where they meet, and then you're outside of the zone, and that's usually what the mind recognizes as boredom, which means that it has to go back and find a new challenge. When you do anything brand new, there's going to be a lot of anxiety, stress, and because there's low knowledge. But as knowledge increases, you'll get to that point of boredom. So the trick is to always stay in the zone. As far as the recognizing, ask people, what is it that they're feeling? What's the challenge? How much energy, effort, and resources are going to devote to getting up to the next level, to achieve that level that you want to be on. That's what
Cool.
a challenge is. I think that helped. I hope that helped, but recognizing where somebody's at is just trying to, asking them, like I said, the right questions. I think that's one of our, our magic is to ask our clients the right question.
Which is exactly where I was going with that, Mark. I'm glad you brought that up. Asking the questions and listening to the answers, especially on how they describe where they're at, and oftentimes how they describe worst case scenario. Those of you that have been around Planet TJ for a while know that, in my hallucination anyways, anxiety, fear, and excitement are all the exact same energy. It's what you do with the energy. Anxiety is fear without a foundation. Oftentimes, when I ask people if they're dealing with anxiety, what are you afraid of? And oftentimes they can't come up with an answer. It's just the energy's there. They're just like, something's going to go wrong. I don't know what it is. Once they go through that and identify one of two things, is it your energy, or is it somebody else's, kind of like an energy spider web that you walked through and it got stuck on you? If it's theirs, what are you afraid of? And when we can dig down, as soon as they figure out what they're afraid of, the anxiety changes. It's no longer anxiety. They can focus on something. When you know what you're afraid of, you can tackle that. Anxiety is like being in a fog, knowing that there's something out there, but you're not sure what it is. Fear, the fog is lifted, you can see the issue. Now it's between, is it something that you can get excited about? Or is it something that you can simply attack and overcome it? One of the number one global fear on the planet is public speaking. Fear number two, death. Most people are more afraid of public speaking than they are of dying. And number three, dying while public speaking. Just kidding. But I've dealt with helping people with the public speaking part for decades. Being an audio tech and being in situations where people knew that they had, especially dealing with weddings. Oh my goodness, I got to do the speech for the, and can you get excited about it? When they could change that fear into excitement, it was something that they could use. In fact, the funniest part, what happens when people have all that fear energy and they get to convert it into excitement for public speaking? They've got so much energy, they're just going to, they can tell you the whole entire thing in half the time. Time distortion. And that's why I tell a lot of my clients, if you have to go out on stage and talk, and you're feeling that excitement energy building up, one of the best ways to handle it, what's the first thing you do when you go out on stage?
Tell them that you're so excited.
With all the excitement that you have. I am so excited to be here. This is awesome. You guys are in for a show. Because you've got the excitement there, you've got the energy there anyways. It's a lot better than going out going, hi, really, really glad to be here. And yes, Mark's acronym, FEAR, false expectations appearing real.
I've heard evidence. I've never heard expectations. I'm so glad you read it out loud because I scanned it and I read the other word.
Uh-huh.
Thank you.
Anybody else got anything that they want to add to this? Oh, I see Fran got to join us. I'm a happy camper.
I know Holly had asked the question. I was curious as to what Holly was thinking and now initially, and now what are her thoughts now?
Yes, good question.
I've definitely got a lot out of that. I think we've been focusing a lot too. I think a lot of these answers are explaining how to move between the zones. So basically, if you're in overwhelm, you do these techniques, they'll bring you into the zone of proximal development. Or, if you're in boredom, this will bring you into the zone of proximal development. So I think it kind of, but yeah, great answers. I think I'm understanding a little bit more. It's still kind of a new area, so I'm still kind of mapping what it means, how we move between it. Because I think it's not the task itself is in any of those places. I think any task could be in any of those zones. Just depends on our approach to it, our mentality, our skill set, all of that, mindset and skill set.
Lenora, go ahead.
I definitely agree with you, Holly. I love it. I love to me, hi, friend. I think there's a difference also when it's yourself versus when you're coaching somebody else through that, and how much rapport you have, but also if it's a friend or if it's somebody in your family, then that's a different connection too. So who you're working with, and if you're working with yourself, I think our level of awareness is so important, and I think everybody here has an amazing level of self-awareness, and it's just one that keeps evolving, and I'm always surprised as to new perspectives, and I love it. It's part of the excitement that I'm like, oh, I didn't think of that before. Like Jack's suit of armor, I was like, oh wow. But wherever you are in that moment of, okay, if I need to accomplish this, what's stopping me? What's holding me back? What am I looking at? What am I dealing with here? And taking the time to examine it with yourself, but also with your version of your coaching self, or your whichever other version, your higher self, whoever else comes in, and looking at it that way. And you had said something that made me think of it. So I was really nervous before before I even left the hotel. I was like 10 minutes before I had to get to the hotel, to the event that I had to leave for. And in my hotel bathroom, as I'm practicing the speech, my chest is getting tighter. And then I started to literally, guys, jump up and down and shake it out of my body. And I'm like, get out of my body, get out of my body, get out of my body. And I'm sitting there and like, here I'm now in the theater, and I'm sitting there and my hands are going like this. I'm like, get out of my body, get out of my body, get out of my body. Because I couldn't do anything else other than like, yes, I have all this energy, and yes, I'm reading colors and shaping things and all sorts, and have millions of different things going through my head. And I'm still trying to fling it out of my body. So wherever you are in that moment in time, and whatever you need to do to get to the next step, I think is really important. and without judging it.
And I was also going to add to that, I'm glad that you added the gradient visualization. I've used that many times to help with clients as well, because they all understand the scale of 1 to 10. And even like when I'm teaching the difference between, or the similarity between anxiety, fear, and excitement, the analogy that I use is a roller coaster. And some people, just seeing the roller coaster on TV, too much, can't look. Oh, and then you have, and they would be the 10. And then you've got the ones who think that roller coasters are the biggest waste of time ever, because you sit there and you walk like cattle in the stanchion for 10 minutes or more, sometimes an hour, so you can set yourself in a bucket for 30 seconds of woo, nobody died, whoop-de-doo. And so I'll ask my clients, on that scale of 1 to 10, who enjoys the roller coaster ride the most? What number range allows people to enjoy the roller coaster ride the most? If 10 is completely, oh, no, they're the ones crying while their friends are dragging them, and 1, you couldn't get them up there because you wouldn't even want to sit next to them because they suck all the fun out of it. On that scale, who has the most fun? You guys want to take a guess? I know somebody already knows, so. The answer is anywhere in the range around 6 to 8. Because it's still exciting enough. Exciting. 9 is fear. 8.5, anywhere between 8 and 9 is where the fear lies. When it gets to 9, the fear is no longer uncomfortable. 10 is full on anxiety. Because 10, they're so focused on how bad it's going to be before they even get to the ride. Worst case scenario lets them know that this ride will kill them. Somebody in the past has fallen out of a roller coaster or died on one. I am the next one. If I get on that thing, I will die. That's a 10. 9s are almost as bad, but they're pretty sure they're going to live. They just know that they're going to have to get to the bathroom to change their underwear when they're done, after somebody pries their hands off of the bar that they've now made dents into, and they probably won't be able to talk for at least 3 hours because they screamed like a 5-year-old in a horror movie the entire time. The 7s are the ones that are still screaming like a 5-year-old, but it's because they got their hands up and they're having an amazingly fun time. And so I think when you can break it down into visuals like that, it's also easy for your clients to figure out where they at on the scale. What is that energy that's inside of that number? Now, how can I turn it into something that I can utilize? And if you got a task you got to do and you're at a 2, then you're probably going to have to figure out some way to gather up some energy find a way to make it a little more exciting. If you're at a 9, you have to figure out how to convert that energy into excitement so you can utilize it and control it. Or burn it off, like Lenora said, where you're just like, and I've got enough energy to run the city of Dallas right now, so we're just going to burn a little off, send some over there, a little over there, some over here, and some back there. But you now have control over it versus the person who doesn't understand any of this, and that energy is just engulfing them. And all of a sudden they become immobilized. That make sense?
That level 2 could be what Holly was talking about as far as boredom.
Yes.
And that level 9 could be overwhelmed. I don't know if I thought I told this story before, but when I was going to Disney World with my kids, they both wanted to go on all the roller coasters. And I had a traumatic roller coaster experience as a child. So I was anticipating total meltdown. But then I'm like, okay, the neural pathway, the physiological reactions to fear and excitement are exactly the same. And there's a defining point between the two. And I said, if I can just talk myself down the excitement neural pathway, because the physiological reactions are going to be the same, I should be okay. So here we are at Disney. I'm going through the queue to Space Mountain, and I can feel my heart beating strongly, my palms sweating. Oh, this is so great. I'm so excited. I can't wait to get on this roller coaster. And I literally talked myself a few steps down the excitement neural pathway. And it was fine, and then went across the park to the next roller coaster and the next roller. By the time the day was over, roller coasters, they were no big thing. But I had to talk myself down that, the decision point instead of fear, excitement. And it just took all I had to do was take a couple steps, and then the neurology took care of the rest.
Absolutely. We've got 23 minis left. Did we answer your questions, Holly? Or
Yeah, I mean, we didn't focus as much on how much time we should spend in the supernatural area, but yeah, I think we covered a lot of stuff.
well, we could delve into the supernatural part if you want to ask a specific question. We can approach on it.
My specific question is, I mean, and obviously you can't control when life takes you there sometimes. I mean, sometimes you're just going to be in a house fire or, car accident or whatever, but how wise is it to deliberately try to get into that area? Is it an area that, we would be in all the time if we didn't have limiting beliefs, or is there a reason our body protects us from it because it's such a, expenditure of resources that we can afford to do it in small bursts, but we shouldn't be doing it every day? What would be your opinions on that?
Linda's got an answer.
Um, you, the paranormal or right brain psychic functioning, I think is what you're referring to, Holly.
We can barely hear you, Linda.
Okay, let me see if I can. Not sure why. Is that any better? Is that any better?
You just sound far away.
I don't know why. I'm on my tablet just like normal.
You're blocking the mic at all?
Not that is that better?
Little.
Is that better?
Talk loud.
Hang on a second. Let me punch some buttons here and see if I can make this thing speaker, microphone. Huh. No better. Okay.
We can hear what you're saying. It was just really, it was really faint. One thing I'm going to throw in quick while Linda's looking to see if there's any one of the three solutions to every event situation or problem she's dealing with is remembering the fact that one person's 10 may be another person's 3, and one person's 3 may be another person's 10. And when you're listening to people describe their challenges, even I've had to remind myself, this may be nothing for me. This may be a 2 for me, like public speaking. Give me a mic, put me in front of 30,000 people, I'll walk right out on stage and not a problem. For some people, just the thought of that while they're in a room with just the two of you is enough to put them into a level 10. And so we have to keep an open mind as to where we're at, where they're at, what is their goal, and how do we help them achieve that. How are we doing, Linda?
Not any better. Is this any better? No better. No better? Can you hear me?
We can hear you, kind of. Fran's like, not really, but I can hear you. I have to strain for it.
I have no idea what's wrong, so I give up.
Oh, don't give up. We can still hear you, but at the very beginning of the talk tonight, we were talking about all of the technical challenges going on around the planet this week. And it's supposed to, unfortunately, they said it's going to go probably till the 15th. So for those of you that are dealing with humans in their natural environment, and people seem to be a tad off, or technology is giving you some fits, it's not just you.
Huh. Well, I mean, it's the same laptop, it's the same Zoom, it's the same microphone, it's the same everything. So I am flummoxed, but if you guys can hear me at all, I'll give it a shot.
Yep.
Okay. So, Holly, right brain and left brain functioning can work in concert and very smoothly with very little effort. And when that happens naturally, it's called intuition. You can have intuition pretty much all the time if you want. And the only reason people don't do it all the time is because it's discouraged and not taught. Like any other muscle, the more you use it, the more the more valuable it is because it helps. There's no reason not to use it all the time. Did that help?
Yeah, I think that's a really good point. And I hadn't really thought about left brain, right brain, and how that factors into all of this too. But yeah, yeah, tapping into what we can accomplish all the time. Um, Putting together what Linda said, kind of with what TJ said too. Kind of one of the thoughts I'm thinking is because you could also talk about, something's a 10 for one person, something's and that same thing's a 2 for somebody else or whatever. I guess the question is, um, when we're trying to do stuff, should we try to get to where, we're maxing out our abilities, like pushing ourselves to the edge and making all of the things we do, trying to make them into 10s? Or is it better to take something and say, this is a 10, kind of like what Mark was describing, and turn them into maybe a 7 so that we can bring them down into that zone of a lot of things. I mean, a lot of answers, a lot of great stuff, and then a lot of new questions that are kind of popping up in my head as we talk about it.
Fran.
Going for max is like marathon running. You've got to pace yourself. You've got to push yourself and drop it down. Push yourself and drop it down if you're going for the marathon. So you cannot, I think, in my opinion, you cannot sustain the absolute peak all the time. You have to just allow the waves to happen, to have recovery time, to go back to another peak. If you do it all the time, you're going to burn out. But there are times when you need that peak and you need to go for that, especially when you're, I guess, working with other people or trying to create that energetic bridge with other people. But yeah, if you do it all the time, it'll burn you out. And you've also got, if you're connecting with other people, of course, you've got to then, again, create and retain your own personal energy field, because otherwise that's very erosive as well.
Yes. Thank you. Linda.
Give it another shot. Can you hear it any better now? Any better?
A little bit.
This is so weird. All right, I give up. Never mind.
No, we can hear you enough. You asked if it was better, and I said a little bit. We can still hear you.
Well, I'm a little confused about the conversation, but if the point is psychic functioning, it's very, very difficult to force that. You can't force that anyway. You're gonna have to feel your way around it and ease into it. But Fran is totally right. I mean, no matter what you're doing, you can't go all out all the time anyway. Just play around the edges and enjoy yourself. Have a good time. See what, it's like a toy. Take it out and play with it and see what you can do with it. And when you're having fun, play with it. And when you're not, put it on the shelf. It's yeah, I mean, play to learn, I think, is the fastest, easiest, best way to learn.
Yep. Play to learn is a huge deal right there. That's why edutainment is so much more effective than listening to somebody drone on talking out of a book. The other part that I wanted to bring up is overcoming the fear and familiarity with it. You're going to realize that that is going to start notching down on that scale. And sometimes that's where the adrenaline junkies get into trouble, because it doesn't scare them anymore. They've been through enough of that high level, high intensity, that what used to be a 10 for them is now a 6. Or even worse, when it becomes like a 3. This is why so many of the military, when they come back from being deployed in hostile war environments, have a hard time assimilating back into normal civilian life. Because when a 10 becomes your normal, what we consider a 3 or a 4 to them is a 0.5, and it is boring as get out. I mean, when I was in San Diego at first, I couldn't understand why on the freeway I'd have guys ripping through traffic and they're doing 90, 95 or 100 miles an hour. And a Fran was like, kilometers? That's pretty slow. But, and as a motorcycle driver, when I'm driving even a vehicle, my head's always on a swivel. I'm always watching for traffic coming up behind me and what's going on in front of me. because when you're on your motorcycle, you have to do that to make sure that you're safe. But I'd be sitting there and we're doing 60, 70 miles an hour on the freeway, and all of a sudden, and just be blitzed by some guy on a super bike in shorts, flip-flops, and a helmet and a t-shirt. But when I met a couple of them, they had just come back from deployment. They needed that adrenaline rush because they had gotten so used to being on full alert, full adrenaline 24/7. And when they came back, it was like they couldn't handle the mundane of every day. So to get on a bike like that and rip through traffic 40, 50, twice the speed that traffic was going, all of a sudden they were awake, they were alive again. And so we have to understand, again, one person's 10 is another person's 3. One person's 3 is another person's 10. And Fran, you were going to say a few things?
Well, I was going to add the aspect of learning as well, that, there's more than one way to you don't have to satisfy just pure adrenaline. You can find other ways, whether it's humor or other ways to get pleasure into and spice into a situation. It doesn't have to be pure danger. And having flexibility about what modalities will stimulate you. But thinking back to the learning, if there's humor involved, you retain the information so much better, which is why infotainment and edutainment works. So entertain, interest, make people laugh, and they'll remember.
Amen. You got, yes, Mark.
I was going to say that in Spain, they decriminalized heroin, get all the heroin addicts out of the prisons, got them reconnected with their family, got them, got them jobs helping others. So they were getting addicted to a new brain chemical, the oxytocin, the helping chemical. And recidivism in Spain went down like 82%. Because they found something other than the addiction to heroin that would give them. We're all addicts to our brain chemicals, where the adrenaline, serotonin, epinephrine, norepinephrine, oxytocin. So if you can get someone to, I agree with Fran 100%. If you can get someone to even humor is a release of oxytocin. If you can guide someone into, a new, a better way of, instead of being adrenaline junkies, maybe you can urge them to, change their goal to, like, say, helping others. And, like I said, it worked in Spain to the point where, like I said, recidivism dropped like 82%.
Super cool.
But what happened in other crime areas or on the roads? Or
don't know.
Yep.
One study.
Well, we've got 6 minis left. Bing! Anybody got anything else that they want to? Yes.
I had something about before with supernatural, and then a squirrel ran away with it. But I came back. So Holly, you were asking about supernatural, and I love what Linda had said. Play to learn, and take it out like it's a toy and see how it's working. I don't think And as delightful as I think it would be to hang out there all the time, I don't know how possible it is if we go with the concept that we came here to learn and grow. And if you're trying to stay there in this very elated state and this is how I'm thinking of it, so this is why I'm saying it this way, kind of detached from the other emotions and only hanging out in this realm of emotion, I don't really know. I think the universe would also encourage you to say, like, hey, go on, keep playing. Like, you got to feel this too. You got to feel this too. You got to feel this too. And you may be bumping up to some other things that might be trying to pull you from that state harder and faster. I could be wrong. This could just be a random thought here. But when you had mentioned that, that's where my brain had went.
Right.
Well, I didn't come in on the beginning of the conversation, so I'm not really with the thread. But Holly, I think you're thinking about supernatural as in superhuman type energy work. And I don't know whether you've ever thought about kind of dividing your brain, part of it being in the everyday mundane level and part of it being in the awareness and super consciousness level and super sensitive level. And so you're actually having two screens running at the same time, like two screens on a computer, which is now common practice, which not so long ago would have been thought of as really weird. How can you keep your focus on two? But you just flip your attention from one to another, and they're both running. So, what a bit like, I guess, an NLP swish technique. You've got one in the foreground, one in the background, and then you can just change over, but it's running all the time. So you're aware, but it's not got your full attention. And I think you can train yourself to run those two awarenesses happening at the same time. But you just can't keep your full attention all the time at that level. So you just need to sort of gently move in and out. I don't know whether that's helpful, but that's one of the things that I like to do when I'm feeling tuned in.
I just wanted to say real quick, TJ can probably speak to this more fully, but NLP talks about uptime, and it does burn glycogen very quickly. And so you really can't stay in that enhanced state for too long. But I think TJ would know more about that than me, and maybe could speak to it.
Again, and I'm glad you brought that up. I think that it becomes if you set your intention to get better at it, it becomes a muscle that the more you exercise it, the better. And too many people, like when we started off earlier tonight on how to fail, when people have to start reframing and thinking about how they're talking about themselves and what they're saying, it can be taxing because they have to really think about it. And that will burn a lot of SRUs. Once you get to a level to where that's just how you talk, then you're back to idle for the most part. Fran.
It's like, I absolutely agree with you. It's like relearning something that you do automatically. Like if you've had an accident and you have to relearn how to walk, it's really hard to unlearn something. Or if you're trying to learn as a high-level sports person, trying to learn how to do something better, you have to go through the period of unlearning before you relearn. And it takes enormous energy to do the new process, having to think of this automatic action step by step. First I do this, then I do that, then I do the other. Maybe everybody remembers learning to drive a car. When you first tried, what does it all, what are you doing? You've got all these things to do simultaneously, and then it becomes totally unconscious and automatic. But when you've got that automatic action and you've got to learn to do it a different way, the energy expended is huge. And I think that's very much what can happen with bringing your awareness to operating at a super consciousness level a lot of the time, and how to monitor and manage your own energy while you're doing it, because that's important too.
And I'm so glad you brought that up, Fran, because what it reminded me of was the saying, practice makes perfect. No, perfect practice makes perfect. Practicing incorrectly allows you to perfectly do it incorrectly. And once you've learned how to do it perfectly incorrectly, like you brought up, having to unlearn and unpractice that so that you can turn around and do it correctly and practice it correctly enough to do it, that's a lot more work than learning it the first time. And that brought us right up to the top of the hour. Time distortion. Boom. 2 hours goes by just like that. So that brings us to where I get to thank you guys again. I will always, always, always thank you so much for sharing your precious commodity of time on this platform, because I cannot give that back to you. And for the wisdom, the insights, all that you provide, and not just for us here, but for the whole platform, for the people on YouTube. Love you, Mom. And for the people that get to watch this recording, if you're watching it, still watching it, thank you. As long as we're talking YouTube, remember to click subscribe and ring the bell and leave comments and share it with others, because somebody out there needs to hear something about on here. There's so much good stuff that is brought to here, not just by me. That's why I love the second hour and I love my tribe, because you guys bring so much value to this 2 hours of time each week that it just makes me, I'll tell you, I was super tired when we started, and this is what happens each week. You guys energize me up. You make me so proud, so happy to be part of this. Thank you for being part of my tribe, and I'm looking forward to seeing you in 7 more days. Until then, please go out into the world, have as much fun as possible, live the best you can, be nice to each other, and know that you are loved. Bing, and all these good things. Love you guys. Bye.
Thank you, everyone. Thank you, TJ.